Okay, cool. Gonna be starting very soon.
Hey everyone.
Hey Sips, how are you?
How's it?
I'm good, thanks. How's it going?
All right. How do you set this so people can join automatically? I'm wondering.
I don't think I have permissions to change anything like that.
So Andrew, I'm gonna make a co-host. I see now. I'm gonna make a co-host. So you can also be able to share your screen without my permission. Let me see. And let me seem like I need to disable this permission. And maybe probably can be helping me. Let me see if I can set this out immediately.
Yeah, there is an option underneath host controls which allows for meeting access type you can set to open.
Yeah. Cool. So guys, give us a quick intro about yourself in the chat. Tell us your name, maybe your company, and probably any other information we need to know. Cannot find this setting, Andrew.
I think it may only apply for future meetings. I enabled it, so let's see if it takes effect.
Oh, you have enabled that?
I've enabled it. Oh, it seems like it's working.
Okay, yeah, meeting now. Yeah, open now. Okay, perfect. I love this. Thank you.
Cool.
Cool. So guys, thank you. We're gonna manage the time very well. So we're gonna be starting now. Like I said, please feel free to use the chat. Tell us your name. Tell us your name and any other info we need to know on the chat. Cool. Right away, without wasting much time. Like I said, I already posted agenda. Let me see if I can pin this agenda. Yeah, cool. So we are starting with intro and welcome address. Thank you for joining. Thank you. I'm seeing Sips. I'm seeing Dagada. I'm seeing Heston. Heston is joining all the way from Myra. Is it South Korea or Malawi? I think South Korea or China. Thank you for being here, man. I'm seeing Shepo. I'm seeing Darwin. I'm seeing Alvina. Thank you, everybody, guys. Thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate your time. We promise you this is going to be very, very valuable lesson for you. And we hope that at the end of this 1 hour session, you will learn something that can actually help you to start building stuff for yourself. It's all about values. So we believe in values. We believe that at the end of this session, you will learn something that you have not learned somewhere else. We're going to make sure that we also work with the time at the end of the day as well. A very, very value-driven session, right? So it's something you cannot afford to miss. And we hope you're going to enjoy this session today. Cool. So we are starting with the agenda. Like I told you guys, we are starting with some of the latest news in the month of May in the world of AI. So I picked some of the top 5 biggest news happening around the world on AI, and I'm going to be sharing these 5 news with you guys today. Welcome to the monthly industry recap from GAIC, right? Now, so the first news from my research, from what is happening today globally on the world of AI, is that Anthropic raised $30 billion, right? And not only that they raised this money as well, that make them one of the most AI startup company, one of the most valuable AI startup company in the world. They are now valued at 852,000, 852 billion dollars, surpassing OpenAI. You can see my sum of analysis here now. So Anthropic is at $9 billion and OpenAI is around $852 billion, right? And this is projection for Q2 2026. This is profitability, right? This is for pre-money valuation, guys. $9 billion. You already raised $30 billion, right? This is the latest news we have today in the world of AI, one of the top news. Then the second top news that we have today in the world of AI is that OpenAI launched GPT 5.5, and I think it's called a proactive agentic era. So we're entering into the proactive agentic era. And what is the vision? Is a compute-powered economy, right? So we are shifting from a passive chat model to proactive, and now we are moving into autonomous system capable of AI. We're moving into an era of AI agent being able to perform its own task, not that complex task. You cannot perform complex business task with just minimal instruction or minimal prompt, right? And what does this do? It does agentic driven, move from foundation to business agent. Now it also does perfect coding. It can debug your code excellently. I don't know anybody have tried that GPT 5.5. If you have tried, please let me know on the chat. If you are using it now, please let me know on the chat, right? Then it also does a real-world utilities optimized for execution over benchmark. Now, the third latest news in the world of AI, top news, is that Google have launched Google I/O, right? This is from Google now. I think like the top 3 news is coming from some of the best top 3 AI company in the world, from Anthropic to OpenAI, now to Google. And it's called the era of search agent from Google, right? And this actually brought what we call Gemini 3.5 Flash, right? And the new default model for AI mode, according to Google, is the new default model for AI mode, delivering a sustained frontier performance for agent and real-time coding task globally. This is highly speed and efficiency, and is information agency to work 24/7, 24 hours and 7 days per week, non-stop. And these are autonomous reason. These agents are working on their own 24/7. They can execute tasks 24/7, 7 days per week. And agentic coding on-demand software. The search is now build custom generative UI and mini apps. Today we're going to be building mini app from Andrew. Maybe that is also part of what Andrew is going to be teaching us today, right? On the fly, tailoring tools and simulation precisely to users' intent, based on your own intent and instruction from you. Now, the top 4, the latest 4 news that we have globally today on the world of AI is coming from Microsoft. Microsoft now, the compute using agent, GA, right? Now, What does this mean? The Microsoft Copilot, according to the Copilot Studio, according to May 2026 update, this is a direct app interaction. The agent can now navigate your screen. Imagine an agent controlling your screen, clicking button, an agent using your Visa card, your MasterCard, and it goes to PayShap, it goes to Pick and Pay. An agent is making payment for you online on the app. We have not seen this before. The world is changing. And according to Microsoft as well, this also comes with the no API solutions, right? So the no API solutions, what does this mean? This enables automation for legacy enterprise software that lack modern programmatic interfaces. So what does that mean, right? So we at the moment now this enables company now to integrate AI, to deploy AI into their enterprises. And that's why I say so many companies are losing, so many companies are laying off some percentage of their staff because AI cannot do some of the minor work that some junior employees can do. I think if I have any advice for somebody on this call today, the best time to start upgrading your skill set is now, because what we are seeing today on the world of AI is going to continue to grow, grow, and grow. It cannot afford to be left out. And according to Microsoft as well, this also comes with a real-time voice agent. This is like a sub 500 milliseconds response latency for customer service and IT desk voice interaction. So meaning that the AI can now even, sometimes we even see some AI now initiating calls. An AI can call somebody, call a customer from a company, and it can be having conversation with you, right? Now, okay, so according to Microsoft, how it works is that it visualizes precision, and this agent also reasons. So the agent sees the application interface in real time, and this agent reasons using Gemini and Claude models, right, to know the next logic actions. And this agent also executes on its own based on what is being programmed, what is being asked to do. It clicks, right? It enters data for you. It analyzes data for you. And this agent also does validation. Now, the last one is that AI is now surpassing average human creativity. So in this era of AI, AI is even doing more work than human beings, right? So guys, the best time to, I said it before, I'm saying it again, AI is doing most work that human being can do now. So if I were you now, it's for me to be learning how to use AI in my own field of areas, in my own expertise, in my own industry, because AI has come to stay. It's not leaving any moment soon. It's going to continue to grow and get better from here. According to research, according to news, what we're seeing, that AI is now more creative than human being, right? So you need to know how to use this AI. Now, the strategic implication that AI is the average creativity is now a commodity. What does that mean? That the workforce must now pivot towards exceptional novelty, cultural embeddedness, and AI-assisted creative workflow to maintain competitive edge. So what that means in a nutshell is that you need to know how to use AI now to be more productive and effective at work. If not, the AI itself is going to replace you, right? And thank you, everybody. I hope this was very worth it. We don't mind, we can also share some of this slide at the end of this session. Do well to join our community. If you have anything, we are building the future of AI in African continent. And GAIC is one of the fastest growing AI community here in the continent. And we are focusing on what AI innovation, talent development, and venture creation. You can visit our website, or you can visit our community, or you can send us an email if you have anything in mind to share with us. Thank you. I'm going to be heading back now to Andrew, and we're going to take it forward from there. Yeah, so Andrew, I'm handing the mic over to you now.
Awesome. Give me one sec. All right, cool. So how's it, everyone? I don't know if you might have seen me messing around, sharing as much as I can occasionally in the WhatsApp channel, mostly in the general chat. I think the community has exploded. I mean, I think I joined when there weren't like that many people, and it's just sort of like on some days I see like 20, 30, 40, 50 people added across all of the groups. So it's wild. It's a really cool community to be a part of. And I guess thanks for the opportunity to actually be part of the first coding or I guess practical workshops of where we actually try and build something interesting or actually play around with the tools in a space where all of us can kind of see what's going on. So quick background from me. I started out work in technical IT, mostly to do with network infrastructure and those sorts of systems. And I eventually moved into marketing, perhaps of all things. But I always had an interest in the way that you could use the internet to sell essentially anything. And naturally, AI has sort of been on my radar for effectively years now. So just a quick one on what we're covering tonight. We are essentially going to go through a practical work session of trying to build an app. We'll go through some theory to start, which we'll try to be as fast as possible because I think there's lots of to go through with the practical stuff. If you have a look at the other screen that I'll share in a second, you'll see what I mean. I've got about like 10 terminal windows open from all the different platforms that are all integrated, all ready to rumble, so we can have some fun. And I think at the end, if we have time, a Q&A would be quite cool. And we can go through that. But essentially, what is vibe coding? I'm sure all of us know, but basically the term was coined by Andre Carpathy, which is essentially just building things with a computer without knowing what it's actually building in the background. You sort of are just creating based on visual response. That's really like what vibe coding is on the tin. The real advantage of having access to tech like this, I think, is for the first time you aren't limited by knowledge, a budget, or necessarily time. So all of us, no matter who we are, even if you don't have a technical background, can build essentially anything you can imagine. You can create versions of things you like. You can create new systems that don't exist yet, or you can sell inside your company that you work for. I mean, it's basically endless. But it really is a use case problem where, although the technology is maturing incredibly fast, the real challenge is actually finding use cases for where it's most valuable, which unfortunately exposes it to some grift, just like anything. But basically, how coding agents, and before we got to agents, we really just had LLMs that would reply with structured output. But now that we use agents, a lot of the work that we used to have to do to get LLMs to actually generate something useful is done for us. And that knowledge that you need to set up these environments or the depth of your knowledge is lessening, or your requirement of depth of knowledge is lessening every day. But essentially, an agent will look at the context that you ask it. It'll plan in the background, build the tools on some occasion, or select tools that it needs. It'll iterate through its own work, which you'll see if you see like thinking in an agent while using it. And then it will just compare how it's done to what your sort of feedback is, or what the or its self-approval is. And it just does that in a loop in the most simplest sort of definition. There are many agents. Jude mentioned Gemini just now, so Google is one of the big ones. But for the most part, I think on the call, most of us would have either used Claude, Codex, and probably few of us would have used Grok. But Grok, I think everyone should keep their eye on. They have a sort of different approach to everything. And personally, when I use Grok, I get really interesting results. Sometimes not the best, but I think that the sort of speed and the cost is going to set them apart. But essentially, there are some things to be aware of when it comes to what the different models mean. So sometimes we don't even really know, like, what's the difference between like a sonnet or an opus in Claude 4, for example. I know Claude just released 4.8, Opus 4.8 yesterday, I think. So that iteration will be better. It'll be better than the previous tier, but if there was a Sonnet 5, it would be more powerful than an Opus 4. Just to keep that in mind. So with every major version change, the capabilities expand quite dramatically. It isn't as dramatic as it was from something like GPT-3 to 4, but every single time a new version comes out, we see, there's improvements. But what I have noticed is that things are getting slightly more expensive on average, which is not so great. But that's a good opportunity for us. I think in Africa there is great potential to create African data centers, which we can potentially use to drive down costs for inference, which is something that I'm sort of trying to work on in the background. But each really have strengths and weaknesses. I'm sure those who have tried various models, you'll see some things some models give better outputs than others. But in general, Claude or anything Anthropic, which personally can't stand using Anthropic because of the limits that it imposes, even through the API. It drives me absolutely insane. This happens to me all the time where I reach my limit, like as I'm getting to about 90% of a job. In fact, the other day I tried to create a presentation using Claude, and I hit my rate limit creating one presentation, which is just insane to me. It just makes no sense. Then you get Codex and Grok, and what I like about Codex and Grok is they're much easier to use on an API level. So we have massive potential for use, obviously, if you've got the budget to put behind them. But I'll go through this in a sec. But each of these have basically their own interface, which is why I like using open code predominantly, because I can use any API from any provider. So any model from any model provider in the same interface on the same project, and just switch between models when I'm sharing the same context. This presentation will also be shared with everyone, so you don't feel pressure to read through everything now. It's probably best for you to reference in your own time, because there actually is quite a bit in it that you could take action on. Something I did want to really try and get people to try and leverage is, if you haven't tried token limiters or context window compactors, you should really implement them in the workflows that you do, because it saves a heap of context window, and obviously saves you a good amount of money too, particularly when you're using things like Anthropic, which have these ridiculously small context windows or usage windows. This can increase your usage by between 60 and 90%, which is wild. And I'll show you how this works in a sec. Another thing is if you're on Windows, which I'm sure maybe even the majority of us here are, you should definitely leverage WSL, or Windows Subsystems Layer, which is effectively a micro Linux instance that runs within or on top of Windows, if you will. But it gives you access to much more, it's just easier to use if you know Linux, for working with any file structures, folder structures, spinning up different software stacks. But that might be out of the scope of this particular workshop. And then I thought it would be interesting. I actually asked AI to go and do some research quickly on what it found on Reddit, on what people's opinions were of each of the vibe coding channels or tools. So Claude, the best I've used, except when I put 12 prompts in, and it's generally and I hit a rate limit wall. Yeah, that's my life. Claude code is great for thinking. Codex is good for grinding through tickets. Grok build is great, working on repos in particular. And then vibe coding is just rubber duck debugging, except the duck writes the code back. Thought that was funny. And also Grok build recently came out, and it's already exploding. It's got massive adoption. They do things slightly different. Okay, cool. So now we can move into the live demo part. These I put them in here just for reference when you guys get the deck, because these are basically codes that you run in your given host to install the respective coding environment, authenticate it, initiate a project, give it something to do, and then you can actually do any differences or review the differences that it does. Same for Codex CLI, same for Grok. If you use Grok, not many of us do, but I put it in here because you can see it's actually quite similar. I would recommend you give it a shot if you haven't. And then basically a recommendation on like how you can build your first stack, particularly if you're getting into this for the first time, if you're wanting to use AI to leverage or to build stuff, is Claude Code does most of what you want better than most, but the usage window will kill you at some point. You will want to throw it. You'll just want to shift, delete, uninstall it at some point. I guarantee it. Codex is probably the best all-rounder that I've found. And then if you want to do privacy-focused stuff, Grok is pretty cool because it only does local repo work. It doesn't really push into the cloud at all, which is quite valuable if you work in sensitive industries. And it's actually a USP. Okay, cool. That's the QA. So does anyone have any questions before I go over to the other side of my screen and we dive into nuts and bolts?
Yeah, not sure we have any question. Guys, please, do we have any questions? You can also put your question on the chat. Then I'm going to bring it up if you don't want to speak. But if you want to speak, you can raise your hand and you can ask your question. It's up to you. Andrew, I don't think we have a question at the moment. I will let
Sweet.
you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to share my screen. I do have a widescreen monitor, so it might be quite big, but sorry about that. Okay, so here are all of the agents that not all of them, but many of them, as you can see, you can get lost in this stuff, right? So I will start from most commonly used to the most, I would say, on average, most uncommonly used. This is Anthropic Claude Code. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it.
And is this the practical?
Sorry?
Is this the practical?
Yeah.
So guys, yeah, I think like, Andrew, if you can do it step by step. Guys, if you have your laptop, please, you can go to your Claude and you can sign up there. So as Andrew is building, so we can build with him. I think we want to build a kind of a mini app. Okay, so what is your opinion on JetBrains, Jumi? Before you answer that, Andrew. So guys, if you have your laptop, please, you can log in on your on Cloud, or maybe Codex, anyone you prefer, or even Cursor, whichever one you want. So we can build along with Andrew. This is supposed to be purely practical session, so because it's a technical workshop. So we want guys to learn hands-on experience as he's building. So we're also building with him. It's very important that you get something out of this session. I don't want you guys to just sit down, listen for 1 hour, and you close your laptop. No, we need tangible impact and something valuable to go from this workshop. If you have not built something before, I think this is an opportunity for you to code along with Andrew, so you can build something very simple. Just a prompt is going to be directing us from step 1, step 2 to the end of the last session. So we can build along with him. Andrew, please slowly, and let us know when we do prompt what we need to do so we can code along with you. Thank you.
Cool. So if everyone's starting, I'd either recommend that you sign up for Claude and download Claude code for whatever your operating system is. Just bear in mind that on the majority of these, I do have like paid accounts, so your interface might look a little different. For example, on Claude Code, you'll see Pro. You won't have access to co-work. You'll just have access to chats, but fundamentally, you can still build the same stuff. It's just that co-work basically allows you to organize things a bit better for if you work with teams or have multiple projects going at any given time, and you can do things like schedule tasks, etc. But effectively, while you're busy doing that, there are so many different ways that you can get access to all of this tech that all look the same. There's a sort of recipe, as you can see, all of them kind of share the same design. It's like a box in the middle that you chuck your request in, and some of them do it better than others. Some of them are in terminal, for example, like OpenAI Codex.
Okay, Andrew, maybe, yeah, you want to take that question? Your take on JetBrains?
Sure. I don't.
Later.
Yeah, I don't actually have any experience with JetBrains. I used to use it for some reason way back when, but I haven't used it recently.
Okay, we have like 3 questions here. Can we use Codex?
Yeah, Codex is cool. Honestly, you can use anything, any agent. You'll get through what we're going to do.
Someone asked 2 questions here. One is, so from what you have been saying, it seems like without any paid version, there is nothing meaningful things can one do.
No, not necessarily. There are lots of free models you can use. For example, Claude is free. You can download Anti-Gravity by Google, which is this one, which you see looks the same, and then you can use free models. The only thing with free models is that your usage is going to be capped pretty aggressively. You might get through, for example, like building half an app, and then it'll just rate limit you for hours, if not a day, which is incredibly frustrating when you're building. Or you can use something like NVIDIA has a marketplace for APIs for AI models, which are completely free. I'd really recommend that.
Yeah.
No, you can start for free. That's the short.
Cool. And he was asking, what is your thought on open source LLM options?
So I love open LLMs. In fact, this window here, if you see, is Olama. And Olama literally runs on my graphics card in my computer, running an open model. Well, it's running a model by Google called Gemma. If you're talking about specifically open source models, I haven't really worked with that many completely open models. I just haven't really had the use case for it. I think you'd have to have quite a particular use case to use like a completely naked open source model that you then train and put all the weights in and all that stuff.
There's a massive. So, hey, Matt, feel free to share those tools with us. We don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
I'll share with us. So, Andrew, you can proceed. You can also monitor the chat, but thank you. I'm going to monitor the chat in terms of any important questions. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So, a friend of mine actually came up with an idea to make a really sort of a funny website, but practically the tech behind it is useful because you're basically building a marketplace website where you can sell stuff. So his idea was a place to trade and I guess potentially sell and buy houseplants. And because it's quite funny, I thought it'd be fun to build. But the actual underlying tech of when you actually build this thing, you could just replace houseplants with, I don't know, used camera equipment or old laptops or clothes or whatever the case is. But as is like no one's really going to go and trade houseplants unless you have some really fancy houseplants. I thought it'd be hilarious. So what I like to do when building an app or have an idea for something and I want to get like a quick result is I'll typically ask one model to build a really good prompt. So you can choose which ones you want to use, but for this, I think the majority of people are either going to use Codex or they're going to use Claude. But maybe I think I'll use Codex because personally I actually prefer it to Anthropic. So we can say something like, and your prompting doesn't have to be super smart. You don't have to be too elaborate. So we'll say build a marketplace to trade houseplants for it should have a modern, easy to use UI, and the UX should follow best practice. Make provisions for payment gateways, integration, but don't make this live just yet. Okay, so that would literally be like a simple prompt. There's a lot of context in there that you don't necessarily see, but what you want to do is say improve this prompt then run it. So if you want to know what model I'm using 5.5 medium, but I'll use low for this because you don't actually have to do too much.
Andrew, also please also copy the prompt and share in the group on the chat so people can pick it from there. And
cool, give me a sec.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Please.
Yeah, I'll share there.
Okay, cool.
Just trying to open it. For some reason, sometimes I lose the chat window.
Yeah, I understand.
Cool, got it. Bang. Okay, that's just my simple prompt, right? So now we can see that the when we talked about agentic coding, I mean, this is essentially what it's doing. If you want to go and have a look at all this stuff is doing, it is. You can try. Honestly, I think the future of this sort of stuff is this is going to be more and more abstracted, so it's going to be pulled away from us as users. We're not going to actually need to see what the model's actually doing because it is just writing code now. It is just building and building and building. And if we pull up the files, we should be able to see project files that it creates as it makes them. So it's actually busy styling first, which is interesting. You'd sort of think it would start with kind of like coding the sort of hard files first, but it's actually styling. And what I've noticed too is the longer that these models run, or as rather that the new versions come out, the longer they take to run. So I'm going to put the same prompt into Anthropic, into Claude. I'll do it in Antigravity, which is Google's own IDE, which is integrated into Gemini. It's also doing the same thing. Anthropic. I'll throw it at my GPU here. This will be very slow. I will select, let's do Gemma 4, the latest Gemma 4. Say cool, you go. And here is Grok build. So now we have basically every major model all doing the same, working on the same task. So you don't need to do this because really like you're going to get differing results across the board unless you point them at the same repo. But we can see that Claude is now starting to create files. And we can go and have a look at what it's done. So basically, okay, you don't really need to see it, but you can, if you want to see history, you can see all of like the back and forth. So this is really that loop that it gets into, which is sort of reiterates what it's trying to do. So it created a website which it will load. Okay, cool, sick. So now we got our front end, which is pretty impressive if you think about how I called it frontly, which is excellent. It even got images. I'm not really sure where it got them from, but yeah, browse plants, cool. Now we got a whole bunch of plants. Cool. So something that you will notice when you use these is it's localized to the US immediately, and that's just because of biases, right? So you can say like make it South African orientated. And something to keep in mind is when you do this, you should always say, depending on your region, but in our region, we always say UK spelling and grammar only. Okay, and the nice thing about using these interfaces is that you can queue commands, so you don't have to wait for it to finish working. Let's say we want to say add a filter in the left menu to sort by price. Oh, it actually has one. Then sort, add one for location. And you can see the context, the agent itself is going to keep all of this in context. So you don't need to continually say like on the left of the screen, underneath categories, change. It will just dynamically know keep itself up to date. And you say add more demo listings, like 50. Add a listing map like the one we see in Airbnb, for example. So you can give it that context. It knows what to do.
Yeah. Can we get prompt 2, 3, and 4, Andrew?
Yeah, sure.
Can just copy them and share with us.
Yeah, so there's the next one. Next one. Next one. Okay, and while that thing's busy, we can go and see Anthropic is still doing stuff. I don't know what it's doing. Gemini has done a plan. So Gemini built a plan to basically do the same thing, including all of the functionality descriptions, technical details. It gave a folder structure. So you can see that Gemini is much more like developer focused. It's just sort of like the way it functions. So you can say open IDE and it'll actually open up the, okay, I haven't linked it to anything. I don't really use anti-gravity, mostly because of usage limits, which also drives me crazy. But if we go look at Grok, let's see what Grok, so you can see that the difference practically is it's much easier to build in something like Codex or in Claude, because you get a preview of what you're building. In more terminal-based ones like Grok Build, it will still create things, but it won't necessarily present them in the same way. So in order to edit them, you'll have to have two different windows open, like a browser window and the actual work where it's being done. Okay, so it's busy building a demo catalog now. And it's going to vary it between cities, categories, price, and care levels. And you can actually start testing stuff while you build. You don't have to really wait. Like plant name, awesome plant, yeah, $100. It grows food, tastes good. Okay, so that functionality doesn't work. So what you can do, what you should get in the habit of, in my experience, is using a screenshot tool. Screenshotting the thing that you're talking about that doesn't work, and then just chucking it into the chat and saying, fix this. So I can put a screenshot of like what, oh, I can't send it in a message. But essentially, don't be afraid to like use multimedia. You don't have to worry about will it take an image. Most of these modern interfaces, or these are effectively harnesses of the AI model, will do all that for you. I see Grok is still building. I'm going to close anti-gravity because it's not going to work for us this time around. The local model has just basically given me an entire definition of what the site should look like, but it hasn't actually built anything. But you can see sort of the difference in quality of output for local model and another one. Okay, so Codex says, or Antigro. No, one of them finished. I usually don't use like 10 models at once. I'll generally use one and pass it between multiple options.
Jacobus, do you have a question for Andrew? You have the floor now.
Yes, thank you. Andrew, while this is busy, Andrew, just in terms of some tools for those that are still working to get some revenue in before they start paying for tools, there's a website called arena.ai. If you can just pull it up to the screen, it's very simple. You register and log in, and that's basically a testing platform. So please do not share any like confidential information or actual information that you want to use on websites there, but it's great for testing things out. So I've actually built upwards of 50 to 100 web on this Arena AI, and what it does, it allows you to go into a battle mode at the top left, you'll see you can select modes. And if you go to battle mode, it actually puts two AIs against each other. And it gives random AIs every time. And there's still usage limits, but it's not based on usage limit for the website. It's based on per chat. So it allows you to actually fully build a website like the one you're doing now. So if you copy and paste that prompt there, you'll see two different models battling it out for the first place, basically. And they use this website for testing and scope and basically just seeing which models are performing and not. And if you play around on the website, you'll actually be able to see what models are outperforming other models in terms of usage and speed and context and things like that. It has no context window. It doesn't save anything. So for those people that are still building and want to explore AI, this is probably the easiest and most fun I've had in terms of my AI journey was on this website.
Yeah, very cool.
You can also just paste that arena.ai in chat as well for anyone that wants it.
Yeah, I guess we can actually share the whole workspace. Yeah, that's fun. Okay, cool. So this thing has started to fix things. Let's see. Ah, we got a map. I don't know where it's based on. I don't think it has any. You would probably have to integrate some sort of API, like a Google Maps API or something like that. But at any rate, I mean, the speed that we got to this point is crazy. Considering the frameworks it's using will be, you can actually ask it to tell me about your code base. It's a bit more technical, but it'll give you an idea of what you can see. You can, for UI testing tools, yeah, I have seen some people plug in, particularly like UX testing platforms. I personally haven't. I don't really build a lot of like front ends for things other than if they are internal tools, which I unfortunately can't show you. But most of the time, the UX that we build is like very specific. So we don't necessarily need to do a lot of like usability testing. But if you are building apps for like general consumption, you 100% should be using all the tools you can. I mean, this session is really like the tip of the iceberg.
Sandro, we have multiple questions, people raising their hands. I don't know if you want them to come and speak to you now.
Why not?
Okay, Tani and Daliso want to go. Okay, Tani, then Daliso, over to you. So Tani, let's start with you. Then after you, Daliso, you can go with you. Over to you, Tani. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, Andrew. Hi, Jude. Yeah, my name is Kwena. I'm active in the group. For front end, I would recommend that if people don't have front end skills like that, they should also check out Figma because it really helps with front end. It's gonna design your entire front end and give you the entire code for your front end, and then you just connect it to whatever IDE you're using. If you're using Codex, for example, you can literally connect Figma to Codex, and then it's going to be easier to have your entire front end. So you won't have to struggle when it comes to front end definitions like that.
Yeah, another great one is if you use Stitch, Google Stitch. I'm not sure if you guys have used it, but I mean it is epic for designing like that whole prompt in here.
Dalis, maybe you want to ask questions as over to you.
Yeah, no, I was just actually just curious. I've just been in and out of a variety of meetings, but the hosting of the website, are you hosting it on Cloudflare, or is there another platform that you're actually hosting the web app? And then also with mobile development, I know with Android it's a bit more tricky. With iOS, it seems quite easy, but of course, you're not going to have a whole lot of iOS users in the group chat. But yeah, just curious as to where exactly you're deploying.
Yeah, well, Yeah, you and I think have been chatting quite a bit on on X and stuff. But yeah, if you host stuff, I'd recommend using Cloudflare, just because Cloudflare pages are so fast and it's free. So I mean, you can't beat that, and it's also really easy to use. I mean, I'm not sure it's going to be in the scope of this particular session. I think we could probably do like a whole workspace on integrating platforms into the actual agents as part of your workflow. Like, I mean, Git is its own whole one, or like Cloudflare, for example. But I actually deployed a web-facing site last week with Cloudflare without touching like any config. It was all just purely done through Codex, and it's just prompting. You don't have to wait, to like learn how to use the platform. So I would take that that approach to everything. I think you shouldn't be afraid to like prompt the agent to do the work that you need it to do. You just throw it at the problem and it'll fix it. And if it doesn't, it'll give you a pretty good direction to go in. And I think where I've really run into issues like that is if it's like environment problems where I'm trying to migrate an app from like a different one language to another, or I'm trying to move a workspace. This is just like a pet thing that it annoys me, but I find I do it a lot because I use so many different systems. Is, let's say you started developing a site like this on Windows and then you wanted to move it to a Linux environment for production or something. You'll probably run into some pains there where you get to point of, I don't know, frustration, and you might not know actually what to do. But again, you can use a more expensive model if you have access to one to do so. But yeah, just for a demo and designing a UI for this, from a Figma competitor is Stitch, and you can actually, there's a workflow. I'll share it. There's a workflow to basically build an entire prompting, like from a single prompt, you get all of your imagery for what you want the site to look like, what you want the all of like the design elements, the colors, all print ready, etc., all in a single prompt.
Hey, thanks so much, Andrew. Yeah, but I think it's just a whole lot of like prompting and the likes. Obviously getting back to the fundamentals, it always helps. But yeah, you get away with just throwing in a prompt to actually even giving you a prompt and then being able to clarify things. But yeah, much appreciated as to what exactly you're actually doing right now.
Oh, sweet. Thanks. Cool. I think there are some more questions. I'm not sure who's next, but fire away.
Yeah, thank you so much. Tani, Figma Make, is this from Make? I know that it's a company called Make, or is this a feature from Figma Make? Just asking for more clarification. Tani,
Okay, on Figma, there's a panel. I'll take screenshots of it and just throw it to the group.
okay.
There's a little panel there, and then it has a little tool called Figma Make. So what happens is that you can attach files. For example, you can literally draw whatever front end design you want. Like you can draw whatever you want there, and then you can direct Figma to design that exact thing for you.
Okay. Cool.
I'm not sure if it's available on the free on the free subscription, but I'll just double check after this, and then I'll just send the screenshots there and show you.
Cool. Thank you. Please, Andrew, if you have added more prompt, please share the prompt. Have you added any prompts on those other ones?
Not the one that we're working on necessarily. This is just, I'm just showing like what Grok. This is Grok build.
Okay.
It's basically
this is Grok now.
This is Grok build on the right here, yeah. So same prompt. This is only the second time I've actually replied to it, and it's basically built everything. But I've told it to create, like, run the app because it's much more technical. So it doesn't ordinarily like put it in a web server. It just sort of runs it. It just creates the stuff, and it's like, okay, I made the thing. So it actually did serve it, but it hasn't told me where to find it. And I probably could figure it out because it actually is like running locally. So it'll be on the local host. But what you don't be afraid to say, like, where is this thing? Like, how do I find it? I don't know. Like, what am I looking at?
Of course, Andrew's screen is on already. So what they want him to reshare is asking if you can reshare your screen.
Yeah, it looks fine. Looks like it's moving. Anyone else have any issues?
I can see your screen. I don't have issues.
I don't have issues as well. Probably network issues.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so now the grok is built. So if you want to do like a comparison, should be able to just click this and it'll open up. Probably, yeah. What port is it on? Okay, so this is grok's version of the same app. So you can see the design is not so bueno in terms of sort of looks a bit older. But it did introduce sorting like right out the gate by shop by vibe. I like that. Yep, that's that one. And we can probably see what Claude has done here finally. See how long it took. It's just a gray, like just a blank screen. Sick. Yeah, that's great. I can't.
You should be able, sorry, Jude, you should be able to refresh at the top right of Claude. There's a refresh button that should give you a proper page, but it doesn't seem like it's doing anything.
No, happens to me often.
Have you actually used Claude Design, or is it only just purely Claude?
Honestly, I don't actually use design much.
Okay.
It's a good way to think of me as like I'm a rapid prototyper for mostly like utility of code as opposed to like building front-end apps. So my design like sensitivities are probably not so well developed, or rather like I don't care as much as I should perhaps. Mostly because like the work that we do is more like deeper into the tech, so like integrating APIs into one another and then building interfaces internally first. I don't think we make things that look bad. We just don't like spend a lot of time on actually designing.
Andrew, question here for you. Dewen is asking, can I turn my copywriters into prompt engineers? Copywriters into prompt engineer.
Yes, you definitely could turn your copywriters into prompt engineers, but you might then make no more copywriters and just have. I don't know. That question breaks my brain a bit.
Okay.
What are the most immediate high ROI use cases for AI that a traditional business could implement? I think that's going to be industry dependent. I think some, because you're gonna fly pretty close to the sun. That is, do we need people to a degree? I think you're gonna like start replacing jobs at a point if you like approach it from that hardcore of an angle. Not that it's a bad angle, because I think everyone ultimately thinks that way. But if you're looking at ROI pound for pound, and you are, for example, replacing a in-house software that you built maintainer with an AI, you could probably get away with building an agent that actually does that for you going forward, and then therefore that junior dev might not have a job anymore. So I think it's going to be use case dependent, but it's a good question to ask an AI actually, because it will have more context on which I think industries are actually getting what are more ripe for the kind of work that AI can do, at least at the moment.
Okay, Junior, I was seeing your hands. Do you want to speak? I think it's over to you now. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go on, Junior. You can speak now.
Is you okay? Sorry. I have a question with regard to like designing for cross-platform applications. So I'm currently building with the assistance of AI, Android and iOS apps using Capacitor and Dynamic. So I want to find out other skills we can use to sort of delegate that designing across those different platforms.
Yeah, man. I mean, like we haven't even touched skills or MCP servers or anything like that. I would say that that's moving on, like to actually leverage skills well. At least in my experience, it's more like of a technical thing to work out. But for sure, I mean, I'll share the stack I was talking about earlier, which is effectively like an MCP skill stack that uses multiple design systems, kind of like Stitch, to basically pull in a project like this that we're working on now, and it will basically just fetch all of the elements and then design and then build the app using whatever agent you want. So yeah, for sure.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Jacobus, I want to invite you now. Then you go to Christ. Over to you.
Perfect. So just in terms of the highest ROI, I'm actually focusing quite intentionally on how companies can increase their ROI, but not having to lose their workers, because I've got very strong moral values in terms of people losing jobs because of AI. So in terms of the highest ROI, and I think this is where the world is moving to first before we have AI fully replace people, is people are going to be managing AI because it still makes mistakes, it still hallucinates. So the highest ROI in terms of businesses, depending on your industry, would be administrative burden and then repurposing that employee to focus on something that generates income instead of the administration that they were busy with.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Good like perspective. I think it's gonna. Hopefully, we can hold on to that as long as we can. I do agree with you with the ethical sort of dilemma that we've now found ourselves in. It's one of those things. I think about this all the time. So in the marketing space, AI encroaches on a lot of the work that we do week by week. You get more intelligence. Like it's easier to do creative. It's easier to build a website. It's easier to build ad campaigns. It's easier to do copywriting, all that stuff. But the real power is, I think, the future is going to be filled by people, generalists who focus in on like what they like on areas that they know they can deliver value in. So then that sort of speaks to your point too, where you might have like an internal companies will probably likely have like AI. They're not necessarily engineers, but they are
Operating.
like fitters. Yeah, like operators, like fitters. They like fit AI into the company. So you have, Jill from accounting really hates doing this thing more than once. Well, I built an app. Marketing team hates posting on multiple social platforms. I built an app. It's just, I think that's how we're going to go like really fast, which is a great opportunity for you to build a career in something like that, because I think it's going to become like a whole segment of, people getting jobs.
And probably maybe you could speak about, like, for example, for some university students on this call today, people starting out their junior career, what does the future hold for them? So like the world is moving too fast. People are really so afraid. How am I going to get entry job? What does the future hold for me, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, I don't know, become a baker or a welder or something. No, kidding.
Electrician.
But yeah, like something that is gonna you're gonna have to wait for an optimist to get good at not blowing itself up before it takes your job. No, but I think I see someone said learn to actually code. Like that's Nick. Nick's actually a mate as well. So is Dwayne. If you, but that's a great point. Like I do think a lot of people are afraid of learning how to code now. Perhaps like you don't need to do your full on like hardcore end-to-end software engineering or learning how to code 100%, but knowing how to code if you're working with AI helps a bunch, because when you're going to when you review the code that some of these models write, even the really good ones, you just go, what? Why did you
Yeah.
do that? Like, that makes no sense. I've got like one function that I can give you that replaces an entire, like, hundreds of lines of code, for example. So yeah, I would say you might need to start thinking about how AI is going to influence industries or like passions of yours, or jobs where you might be interested in going into, and how you can fit into that equation. And I think that it's a big moving target at the moment, because no one really knows like where this is going to end up. I mean, truth be told, tomorrow AI could be regulated incredibly. Like we might then have to use AI that's very pigeonholed. Like maybe we'll only get AIs that are allowed to do X. They can't like interface with the internet, just as like a bad example. But I still think that's coming down the pipe at some point. Is there's going to be some sort of regulation? But I also think I wouldn't worry too much that it's a bubble, because I think the bubble stuff is like the shiny things that people build with AI. I think the practical use cases of like actually building value for companies that will pay for it is where you should think. So stop thinking of like building the next killer app. You should maybe start thinking of, how do I help a company modernize its internal systems using AI, leveraging AI. And it may not actually be like a tool that leverages a model. You know, it may not be like a tool that calls an AI to do a job. It may just be using AI to write a simple app that does like a job, you know.
And Andrew, I totally agree with you, to be honest. Before I invite Tani, I totally agree with you, because now look at what is happening now. So many companies, so many even banks, they're looking for people that can teach them how to deploy AI. I read on the news that one of the Wall Street from US, this guy charged $25,000 per day to teach bank professionals how to use AI. And these guys have been fully booked for 2 months.
Yeah, there you go.
$1,000 per day just to teach them how to use AI. So I think if you're an entry person, you are still very early in your career, learn how to code, learn how to use AI in your field. That is just the simple stuff here. Tani, over to you, Tani.
Thank you, Jude. I am reiterating on a comment I saw that said that you should actually learn how to code, and that's true, because as Andrew said, if you know basic coding, then you can easily debug and you can easily just simplify everything for yourself. And if there's a junior going into the software development world, I always encourage them, go into it. That entire industry is very vast. Like, it is vast. I mean,
huge.
I mean, personally, in my field of work, we've lost a lot of front end devs, but then they pivoted to things like cybersecurity. They pivoted to ML engineering. They pivoted to software architecture, which is a big field as well. Because one thing AI cannot do, it cannot give you a proper architecture. So you will always need things like software architectures and DevOps as well, DevSecOps as well. So if you're gonna want to get into the tech world, just focus on going into those things that require these little certificates. Those certificates you pay 2,000 rand, 3,000 rand for 3 months. They are immense. They are huge. You can even go into business analysis as well, because I mean, like I said, it's very vast. I'm also looking into going into DevOps as well, because I was a full stack, but I'm not a full stack anymore, because I'm more in the back end now, because literally all our front end now is done via Figma. So if anyone wants to get into the software world, just go into it. Like, you literally have nothing to lose. So
yeah, and I think something that's cool with AI is you can actually, like, you know, I mean, the amount that I've learned about coding after using AI to code is wild. So, you know, as you expose yourself to whatever your profession is, and you leverage AI, I think it just opens doors. You know, you can move laterally. It doesn't have to be like you have to skill up into a whole new space. I think the future is probably going to be like how well you work with agents, and then there'll probably be some sort of like your own proprietary agent framework that you've developed over years, which is like kind of your career, like, you know, like your kind of your like CV, as it will. Maybe something like that will happen. I do think at some point the average model that we use is going to be so powerful that there's going to be like one or two winners. I think you start to see that with stuff like, I mean, if any of you ever used Mistral, like their models, they just got like wrecked. They just got left behind, basically. And I think, you know, in my opinion, I think like Google and Grok have some of the best potential, because they are, Google doesn't need the money from AI. It can just be patient, which is why like you get some really interesting, when they release models, they're incredibly capable every single time. I haven't even really used the latest Gemini, but I think like they've got that USP. And then Grok is just interesting because they link to SpaceX and all of their data centers, and they're also they're building their own chip fab. So there's a lot of like that sort of stuff that's to play. But I see there's a question here about which one has built the best app so far, and I have to say Codex there. Codex has got images. It's built the map without much prompting. Anthropic has no images, which I told it. I think, I don't know if I actually did say no. There are no images. So there's no images there. And then the other one is Grok built, I think it's busy. What did I ask it to do now? I didn't. No, I think it just fell over. Awesome.
Yeah.
The app is dead.
We still have more questions. Okay, someone's saying about forward deployed reliability engineer. Am I right? So is there any advantage in using one tool like Codex for writing code and Anthropic code for code review? How much can I trust the review? Surely the software deployment world is changing and we have to live with it. With this, Andrew, you want to take this?
Yeah, cool. I think I'll answer that one with the FDRE. I would say you probably ask AI how to do that. I'm not familiar with that that specific context. So I think any advice I'd give there would probably wouldn't be too accurate.
Just like a new contest for software engineer is now called forward deployed engineer. I think it's a new role. It's a new role in the era of AI, right?
Interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely advantage for shifting models, 100%. I think that's probably like what we generally, I mean, on any given day, I'll use multiple models within the same context. It might be outside of this one, it might add confusion, but I like open code for that reason. For example, if you can see, let me make this a bit bigger, but open code basically allows you to just pull in any model you want with via API. So you can see I've got it here linked into Grok. It's linked into my local models. It's got Google, and it's got GPT and there's some free models that it comes with. But we can give it the same prompt or point it at the same code base, and then you can iterate through multiple models in a similar way to Arena AI does it. But imagine you had it locally. You can, throw whatever you want at the problem. I mean, we can give it that same prompt, the very first one, and see what it does. So I guess that it's sometimes it bugs out because it's still very actively developed. But I would recommend that if you want to really play around with multiple models at the same time, try open code.
Oh, perfect. Open code, perfect. So I've been seeing your hands up. Dagda, do you have any question for Andrew or contribution? You have the floor now.
Yes, I do have a question for Andrew. I would love to know, right? As someone, so I've been playing around with these tools, right, from early on. I've adopted them, right, but then not necessarily the coding, the technical aspects, right? So I would love to know, I'm hearing from this discussion that it's actually important for us, right, to actually understand the code and understand something about coding, right? So far my understanding has been from the stuff that I've been building. So I always ask, like, why is this like this? Why is this like that, right? And that has given me good understanding, right, about deploying. But my question now is, for someone who's starting, right, for someone who wants to learn coding now, should they still learn it the old way, as how people used to build, or how can we learn it now? And for someone who's learning, then should they stop using the tools to slow down, or how can they go about it?
I would say do both at the same time. I mean, if I was, so I just shared a link there from called Automate the Boring Stuff, which is essentially what I used to, like, right in the beginning to teach myself how to program properly. It's basically completely free. The whole thing is online. You need to know nothing. And essentially what it teaches you ultimately at the end of the day is how to build like a web scraper, which if any one of you has ever hand coded a web scraper, you will know it is pain. But it teaches you a heap. It teaches you like data models, it teaches you functions, it teaches you classes, it teaches you API limits, it teaches you how to like use different web browsing agents. It teaches you how to handle packages, push to Git, the whole thing. So if I were to give like one resource that has taught me how to code, and this is in Python, and Python is probably it's a really great context to use, or language to use, I would recommend using Automate the Boring Stuff. It's really it was awesome. I just used to wake up early before work and just bang through a chapter. And it took me like I think I did like one a week, or like one chapter a day for however long it took me to finish. And by the end I had a web scraper. So it was cool.
Yeah, thank you. I just posted that now on the group. Teach yourself how to code. We still have so many hands here. Jacobus, I'm inviting you once more. Over to you now.
Yeah, so I just want to touch base on one of the earlier questions in terms of what to do when you just are just out of varsity or just out of school with regards to everything going on. And I was busy watching a podcast or a live webinar that actually speaks about what the world is leading into. And at the end of the day, you'd always need consultants, someone who guides you through things, someone who guides you through either business strategy or how to use AI or what's happening in the world of AI or smart AI for businesses or whatever the case may be. There needs to be a professional in something to upskill people, because most people in the world are not even close to where we are in terms of coding with AI. If you look at the statistics, I think a total of 2% of the world population are actually paying for AI skills, or AI models, which is quite substantial if you think about the impact that it has had on our lives, part of the group, and everyone that's actually built businesses from it. So that was the first thing. Then in terms of testing models, I know OpenAI, and there's a few places where you can test models with API codes and things like that. I just want to bring back the attention to Arena AI. It's free. There's nothing connected to it. There's no issues. Just do not share anything personal, as it is a open source that does share the feedback from your sessions. So if you want to go play around there. It costs nothing, and it really does help a lot in terms of learning. And then the third thing in terms of learning coding, OpenAI released 5.5, ChatGPT 5.5. And with that, they actually released a model which can write you a full course based on Coursera or whatever the case may be, type of training, and can literally write you a full coding course in terms of what you want to know or what you actually need to know in terms of what you want to achieve. So that's something that's really amazing in terms of colleges and things like that. I really don't think schools and colleges are going to last very long with how fast we can learn with AI. So go play around on Claude GPT 5.5 and see what you can get in terms of your knowledge for coding specifically.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. That was cool. Day one, I want to speak now.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening.
Hi there, Andrew.
How's it doing?
So just quickly, just touching on what Jakob just brought out around businesses having people to kind of guide them into this age of AI transformation, right? So I like to coin the term AI shepherds, right? Because you basically control certain stacks of AIs and agentic models to whatever sort of use case. So if you heard it here first, don't be surprised if you hear the term again. Secondly, I just want to touch on the point of HCI. So in UX, we talked about human-computer interaction and the role that the computer plays in a human's life, right? So right now, no matter what you work on and use AI to build, think about the human first. What are you designing to help the human, right? Because I'm of the opinion that AI is incredibly powerful. There's so many use cases, as we can see here, right? And we can hear in this discussion. But again, like for me as a non-dev, right, I can see AI as empowering people that are non-devs either to accomplish tasks, to solve problems. So a copywriter could be empowered for inspiration, right, to do edit checks. A marketer could be empowered by AI to run quicker telemetry and analysis on the data and the feedback that they're getting from the platforms, etc. So it all depends on like where you're heading, what your passion is, what your skill set is. And just remember, guys, we're always designing computers, and AI space is always to empower the human, not to replace the human. Then I'll leave you with a question, Andrew. So what would you say to companies or executive level people that are kind of resistant to incorporating AI into essentially their business ecosystem, right? Because I've run into a few cases where they've stated that they would rather wait for the tech to mature. But how could you wait for something like this to mature? I think if you're waiting for it to mature right now, you're already late.
Yeah, I'd say you're right. I mean, just look at GPT. We're at like 5.5. We're, you know, it's not like it's going to change too fundamentally unless I don't know. There's been a lot of talk of like reaching the limit of GPT or general purpose transformers for some time. So the tech itself, the underlying tech may change, which would only ever make them more capable. I don't think it would not going to like simplify the capabilities of the tech. So no, I don't think I'm not sure what you're waiting for, you know. But I do think there are some industries where it's super risky especially to use hosted models because of data privacy and data sovereignty and like compliance. I mean, even if you go and have a look at how Popia fits into the equation for those of us in South Africa with Popia, which is just the like protection of private information. If you are using hosted models that are outside of your country, out of South Africa, you're like technically not compliant with Popia. So that's one problem to solve. And you then either have to have like a data center that runs that model locally, so that those bits actually never leave the server. They don't actually cross the border, which is really hard to do at the moment. So that's, you know, a real problem. But you could solve that, have you the money of running your own cluster somewhere, which is where I really like, I'd really like, if I had the cash, I'd love to build a cluster somewhere and then host local models on it that we serve out to like a pure South African, I guess, customer base. And then that solves that problem. But in terms of like being hesitant for whatever reason, I think those are going to like be super dependent on what they want or what you think the AI is going to do, or what the proponent of the AI adoption within the organization wants the AI to do. obviously like job protection is going to be quite an important one, but maybe some people haven't even been exposed to the power or the versatility of AI now. I mean, most people still haven't used like a proper voice model, you know. It's very, I know, like, I think it was Jack said earlier about that 2% adoption in terms of like actually leveraging, using AI systems like this. But how many people have actually used a voice agent that's actually plugged in to do something? You know, we had a tech demo for one of our clients not too long ago, where we demonstrated a multimodal interface to basically all of their lead generation, and it kind of like it was just crickets in the room. Everyone sort of just looked at each other, thinking immediately like, "Whoa! Like, does this replace my job? How far can this go? Does this then now? Does the voice agent that is exposed to the greater audience that are prospects or potential customers within the market, now can it also interrogate them based on their like emotion? Can it give them a lead temperature score as they move, you know, before they've even hit us? And in fact, you know, then you start getting to questions of how far will AI go before it makes sense to replace people, because they might have been doing a job that was actually less efficient or less effective than the AI. I think that's happening. I mean, we're not the only community that's like trying to share stuff about what we're doing now. There are people who are deep within companies, whole teams of people using AI with the express purpose of replacing as many jobs as possible. And that, unfortunately, I think is where a lot of like nuts and bolts innovation is going to be, potentially in the wrong direction for like the humans, but in the right direction of making more cash. But yeah, I don't know. I think those are great questions. I don't think anyone really has perfect answers.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Andrew. I hope that answers your question. We can have this to be honest with you guys, we can continue to have conversation on AI ideas, questions for the next 3 hours or 5 hours, but
yeah, we can.
We want to manage the time, to be honest with you guys. Andrew, I think I want you to be wrapping up now. We have 6 minutes to run it. We already spent 1 hour, almost 1 hour 30 minutes now, so we want to keep it within this hour. I think if you can be rounding up, then we can take 1 or 2 contribution or question, then we can call it a day. Let me leave that something that is left on your presentation. We can finish it off. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, I think I just want to start wrapping up with saying that this was designed to be very high level. I think mostly because we aren't actually sure of the like expertise that we obviously have within the group. I think that we've got everyone from like brand, like beginners in various disciplines, from designers to copywriters to engineers to like entrepreneurs, etc., that are within the group. So it's very diverse. But I think sessions like this are great because we're going to figure out how deep we can go. I mean, Jude, on our chat the other day, I said like there are conversations just that we could have on a session dedicated just to securing your code base before you're about to ship anything. I mean, that's a whole different category. That's like cybersecurity is a whole another thing.
Yeah.
So just give the caveat that what you're seeing here is basically like a workflow for just playing around with what these platforms can do as quick, like with really limited time. I mean, we've had like four or 5 prompts and got to a point where Codex,
This is beautiful, man. Yeah.
Obviously the winner.
Look at that tree.
I mean, look at Claude's. It's a joke. I told it didn't have images, so it replaced everything with emoticons. And I'm like, okay, I want to go and sell this to a customer now. I mean, like, which one are you going to choose? It's obviously going to be Codex, right? I mean, it's crazy. But if you look at the one that Grok keeps falling over, which is also not good.
Yeah.
Like the app just keeps failing for whatever reason. This is the one that used Gemini. It did build it. We haven't really had time to review it just yet, but I think you can see like at the minute, like to the minute right now, I think 5.5 GPT-5 is by far and away the most powerful model I've ever personally used that's available. It's just crazy. We take the fair disclaimer that I haven't actually used. This was built using Sonnet. It wasn't built using Opus, so I'm sure Opus would do a better job. Just Opus absolutely destroys your usage. It like It's crazy. And for that reason, I honestly don't use Anthropic because it just drives me insane. I'm more of I like getting to the like providing the whatever harness I'm using with an AI key, because then I can just use it until I reach a point that I'm happy with. So it does cost a bit more. And I think I am in I guess the fortunate position where, because I run my own company, like we can charge it to it's basically like R&D. So it's pre-tax, etc. It doesn't come. So that I do appreciate that is a privileged position, but you can get really far with a lot of free stuff. So that's another takeaway: is don't be afraid to try just because you're going to have to pay. Try, like, just use them all. Just download OpenCode, get try and use their free models. They're actually really good. They'll surprise you, and the usage tiers are actually quite generous. So there's 100% free tool to use, and we use OpenCode extensively. Like, this is just one interface. In fact, we mostly use it when it looks like this. It looks like this, which is like in the terminal for most of our production work. Claude Code looks like that. You can see it's like much of the same. But I would say even just pick one and just get to know it, because the models do have nuance to them, to how they do things, even down to like aesthetic choices of things. They'll make things, you can almost, once you've used enough of them, you can kind of tell which apps were built with which model. And we haven't even touched like actual vibe coding platforms, like Lovable and all of the other ones. I mean, there's literally like, you can just do a Google search.
Yeah,
if you
for
guys still use
maybe
Google.
next month session. I use especially for non-technical. Sorry for cutting short. Non-technical guys, you need vibe coding, like places like Lovable, Base. I think it's Base. Is it Base app?
Base 44.
Those platforms are incredible. You can build world-class website under minutes by just prompting and vibe coding.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. I mean,
cool.
I think that's just also another thing is like it's literally just your own limits that you'll have, whatever they might be financial to a point, because I think at some point you probably will need to pay for the really good models, particularly if you for example, like I was experimenting with 5.5, like super high, very high Uber Alles, like full whack mode, and the quality of its output was insane. It was just so good, but it was really expensive. It spent like many dollars very fast. So you should try and plan to get to a point where you are using paid models if you are starting, but don't let that be the limiting. Don't think you're like that hamstrung because you can't afford to pay. Just start building.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to give you that 2 minutes. We have 3 questions, starting from Kwesi to Jacobus, from Jacobus then to Daliso. Over to you, Penny or Kwesi. Please keep it very short because of time. Okay, Jacobus, over to you. It's like Penny is not ready.
Sorry, Jude. What I want to say, I was just gonna post it in the group. So,
okay, you want to post it there? Okay.
Yeah, no, I will just post it in the group. It's about what Andrew said about learning how to code Python. So I was thinking that Python and JavaScript are 2 languages that coexist. But if someone wants to ideally learn how to code, don't you think that they should start with JavaScript, Andrew? Well, HTML, CSS, and then JavaScript, and then make their way to Python once they have the solid structure of web development.
Yeah, actually, if Nick came on, and Nick Thompson, actually, because he codes a lot more than I do. He's a good friend of mine. Dwayne is too in this call, in case you guys didn't pick it up from. But I would say if you really are serious and you want to learn how to code, it's not going to matter which language you use necessarily, because once you know one, you can sort of move between them. It's basically you just sort of learn like the different way that it does something. For example, Go is an excellent language too. It uses far less memory. It's a lot faster. A lot of production workloads are moving to Go or Golang. So I don't, like don't let that also be a hurdle, like an insurmountable hurdle when you're thinking of how to learn how to code.
Nick?
Just pick one and go.
Yeah, I'll try to add my 2 cents here very quickly, just to add to what Andrew said. I think what I'm trying to say is that the most important thing when you're learning is how to play and how to figure that thing out. And the problem is I did it the other way around, where I try to learn JavaScript first, and going the HTML path as well, you get very lost in the kind of sources to like web design. Whereas if you do the JavaScript, if you do the Python first and just learn some easy, like there's some games you can build and you just learn to tinker. If you learn to play around and get that muscle going, that's what you lose when you're playing with AI, is the AI does all the fun and there's no playing. And I think if you can do that with Python first, what you learn in Python can be carried over to JavaScript and Golang, no problem. So whatever you have fun with, do that.
Interesting. Yeah, that's Nikki. Ross, over to you.
That's true.
Okay, so Daliso, over to you. So like talk about this, Mary.
Yeah, no worries. No, I think with what Andrew had actually just shared with coding and the likes, just work with what you've got. The funny thing is that obviously with my talk, this was in April when I spoke about releasing 10 apps on the App Store. It was tongue in cheek, but you literally can actually just build an iOS app, and it doesn't even have to include the $99 subscription. So yeah, just work with what you've actually got. It can be a web app, it can be an Android app, it can be an iOS app, it can be even something built on a Raspberry Pi and such. But much appreciated, Andrew, as to just sharing your insights and such. I was actually wanting to even ask, like, oh, have you actually tried Opus? Is it 4.8, if I'm not mistaken? And again, I think even the fact of the subscription models, because I know some people would take the API route. I've just taken the subscription route because when I look at what you're paying, it's like an all that you can eat buffet. Just pay for the subscription, you hit your limits, then probably pay more, and you still actually get a decent amount compared to straight out token usage. Because of course, we've also been hearing Microsoft, they cancel their cloud subscriptions and the likes. But that's just the very nature of what we're playing around with right now when it comes to tech. Play around with whatever's actually there. We have Blackberries, we have iPhones, we've got Androids. We don't know what the next tech frontier will be.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, it's a great point. Just on the API stuff, yes, you can find yourself spending a lot. There's a big disclaimer. Like I said, is because it's basically like free reign. There's no, particularly with OpenAI, there's no real like limit. You could use that thing in a production. You could put it in a server that processes like 1 million tokens a second if you want, and then just watch your bank balance evaporate. I think someone shared in the group that someone spent like 500 million. What is it?
$500 million on a month.
Ooh, you are fired.
Yeah.
You know, like those problems are real. And like there were actually early days, I think like three or 4 years ago, one of my OpenAI API keys got leaked somehow. I'm not sure how to this date. But I mean, I got billed like hundreds and hundreds of dollars in the space of like a day. And then I found it and I was like, oh, well, that, oopsie. So, yeah, it's a real concern.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, I didn't share you were talking to me, Jude. Just to quickly pop in one final thought in terms of, I think it was Dwayne that asked about how do you get through to someone who's resistant to automation within their company. That's a very deep sales conversation, and I think that's something that will be very valuable to everyone in this group, is to actually have a sales conversation. So I've been in sales for 16 years and transitioned to AI. So I've got some insights that I can pop in either in the group or in a session like this if you guys want to have something like that as well.
Yeah, man, drop me a DM as well on WhatsApp. Maybe in our next edition we can plan maybe something around that, maybe in the subsequent one. Yeah. Andrew, any final words from you? Then we call it a day.
No, I think just that there's a lot of people here who could contribute to workshops. Like I kind of anticipated that would be the case, that there are a lot of people that have a lot of experience, and some of it might be weird. So there's like, it's not going to be hard to find people to host these. I'd really like to see Deliso do one, just because like memes.
Really?
Yeah, like it's just so funny. I mean, like him and I have been chatting a bit on X, and like some of this, like I don't know how many dollars you've made from your apps this far, but it's just hilarious, dude. I think I'd really like to see. Yeah, I think you and I probably share like similar kind of AI
Bro is
usage
building 30
behavior or
up in a
something.
week. He's
Yeah,
building
wild.
30 up in a week.
No,
Incredible.
it's wild. It's just madman.
Yeah.
So I think like there's a lot of guys like that. I think Yaku could definitely do something. I think there's David on I think I mentioned to you. I'm not sure if he's in the call, but he's very into like securing environments and code bases. That's a massive one. Cybersecurity, UX, UI. I mean, we can keep going. There's so much stuff that we can do and share with one another that will obviously like impact what it is we do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So that would be like my I guess closing thoughts is it's just cool to be part of this community because it's obviously all of us here use AI every day for different reasons. Some of us have production things where we actually make money from AI. Others are probably trying to get there. Some of us are, maybe it's the first time you've used an agentic environment to do something and you've sort of like wowed about what it can do, but you're not really sure how to apply it in a business way. I mean, also Nick could talk your ears off of how to like build chatbots and like the intricacies of that wild world, and why you in certain cases why AI isn't the answer. That's also an interesting equation for like to factor in for your context. So yeah, I just think like we're sitting on a bunch of people who are like very, very talented.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you for making the May edition a very beautiful one. Guys, thank you for joining. This has been very, very incredible conversation. We can have this conversation on and on, but because of time, we have to stop here today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your question. Please, we want this to be as practical as much as possible. If you build stuff, please feel free to do a screenshot and post in the group. I can also post on your social media, post on Twitter, post on LinkedIn, and if you want us to continue to host this every month, please feel free to reach out to support us in whichever way. If you also want to speak as well, please do well to reach out to our team, and we're going to schedule with you as well. But hey, this is going to be very fun learning every month, and we look forward to your support. We look forward to working with everybody. Let's make next month edition a very successful one. And don't forget as well, this conversation continues on June 27 when we're having our second physical meetup here in Joburg. So if you have not signed up, please do it to sign up. And if you have not joined the community, do it to join the community. We have a lot planned out for the year, and you cannot afford to miss out. Once again, thank you, Andrew. This is also recorded. I'm going to upload it on YouTube, so you can go there, slow it down, rewatch everything from 0 to 1 hour 30 minutes. You can rewatch everything, then code along with whatever Andrew have shared with us today. And feel free to ask. I think the conversation continues on the WhatsApp community. Feel free to ask us whatever you don't understand. Andrew is also there, willing to take your questions, answer you, and help you whichever way you can. Once again, thank you and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye-bye for now.
Cheers, everyone. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Jude.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Jude.